Hey guys, what is up? It is Astrolia Katie9LFZ back at it again, and today we are going to be talking about something that is a personal interest of mine and that I think a lot of you would find interesting as well, and that is flying planes. Why I fly planes, how to get started flying planes, and where I am in my journey towards getting my private pilot's license so I can fly planes on my own. So to answer the first question, why I fly planes. I don't know if you noticed, but I have the NASA hoodie on, and working at NASA, working at any space agency, and getting to go up there in space and live and work on another planet or in a spaceship on its way to another planet or even just in orbit is absolutely insane, and it's something that I'm super interested in doing. And one of the things that a lot of the astronauts do is they fly planes. It's actually a required part of the astronaut training. So when I was first like, hey, astronaut, that might be cool, I saw that a lot of them were pilots to begin with, and they all were pilots at the end of their astronaut candidate training. And I was like, well, I don't actually know whether or not I'd like flying planes because I've never tried it. And then I tried it, and now I'm absolutely hooked. I go for my flying lessons once every other week, have an absolute blast, and yeah, flying is just really amazing. It's something that I'm really passionate about because it's, first of all, it's really fun, and second of all, everything that you do, you can see the immediate results of it, and every time you go up in the air, you get a little bit better or a lot bit better. Every time you practice, you can see the changes that it makes, and you can see yourself becoming a better pilot. And it's just something that I find really, really amazing. So that's why I fly planes. The second question is how to get started flying planes. Well, when I went to get started flying planes, I looked up on the internet how to fly planes, and I found out that the thing that I would be most interested in pursuing is called a private pilot's license. It is the private pilot's license is the license that allows you to go up and fly airplanes. Specifically, like the type of airplane that I'm flying right now is a Cessna 150, and you go up, fly your propeller airplane, and you just have fun. You can take passengers up with you once you've got your license, and you get to fly planes. So I was like, okay, the private pilot's license, this is what I'm interested in, this is what I want to go to. Your other option is a sport or a light aircraft license, but I didn't want to do light aircraft or sport aircraft. I specifically wanted to be able to fly like Cessnas and other small aircraft, but I still wanted to be able to fly them and to have passengers and to do solo flights, stuff like that. So the first thing you're going to want to do is look into exactly what type of license you want to have. And then I was like, okay, private pilot's license, what do you need? Well, turns out you need money, and a lot of it. When you look it up, it's going to tell you that you're going to need between 10 to 15,000. That's average. If you're really careful, you can get by with like 9,000, I think, but it's still a lot of money no matter how you look at it. You also are going to need a certain amount of in-flight hours. You're going to need to take the FAA written test, and you're going to need to take your oral test. In addition to doing all of the government certification things, if you are an amateur radio operator like me, you're familiar with taking it's like a 35 question test. It's over in like 2 minutes if you memorize all the answers, and then you get your license from the FCC that says, here's your ham radio call sign, here are your band privileges. It's just like that with the FAA, except for they also require you to do a bunch more paperwork. You have to get your medical examination done, you have to get your student pilot's license, you have to go through all of the certification because you're flying airplanes, and they kind of want to make sure that you're healthy and also actually able to fly airplanes. So you go through an FAA written test, which is super long and complicated. You go through the oral test where you go up and the person you're sitting with just sits there and judges you while you fly. And I was looking at all this and I went, wow, this is really cool, but it's also really complicated. Am I sure I want to do this? So to get started flying, what I did was I searched up in the local area different airports, and I looked at what the different airports offered. So the nearest one near me, it's about half an hour away, and they offer an introductory or introduction flight. And it's at much lower cost than the rest of your flight training is going to be, because you're just going up there for 30 minutes an hour, seeing whether or not this is something that you're going to be interested in. So I went for the introductory flight over a year ago, and I went up and I was like, yep, definitely something I'm interested in. And then from there, I started looking at the different logistics of what I needed to do to get the money, to get the flight hours, to get the knowledge, to go through all the different requirements to get my private pilot's license. So if you're also interested in getting started in the field of flying airplanes, I recommend that you first look up what exactly what stacked license class you would like to be. That's English. What exact license that you are going to be wanting to work towards, what the airports in your area are, and then go for an introductory flight to make sure that this is actually something that you're interested in. If you're like me, you go out for your introductory flight and you're like, yep, definitely. After that, it really depends on how soon you want to get started. You can go back as soon as they can schedule you and start learning how to fly. For me, it took me a lot longer because I was like, that's a lot of money, and it is. So what I did was I went and I got a job, and all of last summer I worked 40 hours a week to save up enough money to get to the point where I was like, okay, maybe I can start spending some of this money on flying. And that's literally all that I spend my money on, is flying. And so I made sure I saved up enough money, and then I started flying about last November. I started going once every other week, like I said, and from there, your flight instructor will help you with the rest of the path to getting your private pilot license. One thing I would say is very important when you're getting started flying is that you make sure that the airport and the instructor you really get along with. The first airport that I went to, the one that I went to for my introductory flight, and I also did a ground school there, the teachers there, they were very nice. I have nothing bad to say about them, but they just taught in a different way than I was able to learn. So at the end of the ground school, which was a 9-week class, I did that all of last January and February. I didn't really remember a lot because I'm not the type of person that can sit in front of a PowerPoint and just absorb information. Like, I can write it down, but I'm not actually understanding any of that information. So that wasn't something that I actually learned very well doing. So I decided, hey, I'm going to look at other airports. And then I found the airport that I'm currently going to now, which is about 35 minutes in the exact other direction from my house. And before I spent any money on the flight, before I spent any money at all, I went to the airport to meet the flight instructor, to see the airport, to see the aircraft that they had, and to really make sure that the airport would be a good fit, because you're going to spend a lot of time there, and you're going to spend a lot of time learning there. And it's really important that that airport is someplace you can learn, so you're not wasting your time and your money. So that is something that I would say, be very careful when you are starting your pilot's training, that you make sure you're starting out at the right spot for you. So now for the third question, where am I in my journey towards becoming a private pilot? Right now, I did my introductory flight a year ago. Well, year and a couple months ago. A year ago, I did the ground school, which I promptly forgot everything from it except for getting some of the books that I would need to have. Yay. And then all of last summer, like I said, I worked to make enough money. Last November, I actually started doing my flight training, and I have my student pilot's license. It looks just like a driver's license, except for it's got the Wright brothers on it. It's actually really cool looking. I like it better than my actual driver's license. So I got all the paperwork filled out through IACRA and all that stuff to get my student pilot's license. That's all sorted out. I'm working on getting my medical. I have to schedule that, and you have to go in and put in all your medical information. It's a whole process. And I am just every other week doing my lessons to become better at flying planes. I go there, we start the lesson, fly up, and then we just do stuff. And depending on how everything's going, we'll do different things. So 2 lessons ago, there wasn't very much wind up there. Everything was really calm. So what we decided to do is we were going to practice takeoff and landing. And we went around the traffic pattern, because around the airport, before you take off and land, you go around the traffic pattern. landed, went back up, around the traffic pattern, landed, went back up, and we just did that the entire lesson. And every time I did it, I could tell that I was getting better. It was easier to land the plane. It was easier to take off. My instructor was doing less and less help. And then the last lesson that I went to, we had about a 20 knot wind up there, which was definitely very interesting to learn to. One of the maneuvers that we did was you pick a crossroads and you pick on the 4 axes, you pick a landmark that's about half a mile out, and then you try and fly in a perfect circle above all of those landmarks. But if you've got a wind, part of the circle you're going to have a headwind, so your ground speed is going to be really slow. Part of the circle you're going to have a tailwind, so your ground speed is going to be much faster. So you have to change the angle that you're turning, your angle of bank, to manipulate how fast you're going to try and actually get an even circumference of that circle. That was just one of the maneuvers that we did up there. It was windy, so we did wind maneuvers, and we learned about those. I learned about those skills and how to maneuver around in a windy situation. So every time we go up, we do something different, or we touch upon something that we learned in the past, and that's where I am right now. Got my student pilot's license. I'm going every other week, and it is an absolute blast. It is a ton of fun. I'm having an amazing time with it. And then in between my lessons, if there's anything that I'm confused about or that I'm working on, I'll just go into my large collection of books and read them. And then in between lessons, I do learn about that. So that's where I am in my private pilot's training. I'm doing the lessons, having a ton of fun. Okay, well, that's everything I had for you guys today. I am going to continue to do these update videos as I get more hours under my belt, as I get further along in becoming a private pilot. I'm going to be multiple pilots all at once. I'm just that good, you know? As I get further along in my journey to becoming a private pilot, when I get licensed, when I'm flying planes, because I think it's just something really cool that other people could benefit from knowing how I got where I am, how I'm doing, learning how to be a pilot. And if you're also interested in being a pilot, I would highly recommend go try the introductory flight, find an airport near you, and if it's something that you're actually interested in, seriously consider it, because even if you're like just me, I'm a 17-year-old girl, I'm learning how to fly planes. Everybody I tell that to, if you're just like, what? And I'm like, yeah, you could too. It's just super amazing. So thank you everybody for watching. I hope you all have a great day. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. And yeah, 73.